last piece about going live everywhere on the planet
Yeah,
for our
no,
last call.
no pressure there at all. I think it was that.
Right, like right at the last minute, like right at the last second when I press the button, I'm like, and we're going live everywhere on the planet.
Live on the planet, just a small place, just the planet.
This is, I mean, when you really think about the grand scheme of things, it kind of sort of is. So
Right,
anyway,
right.
hey, the thing is, Doug, we always have these amazing, amazing, amazing conversations, especially for our sales meetings. And you being, my primary sales officer, and I really thought it'd be kind of cool if we could share what we do at Fyrebrand, how we actually do take the opportunity to vet our clients, that we do treat our business like a private club, not like a public park. And we want to show other people how you actually do that. My goal, of course, as you know, is how can I help people have financial freedom from corporate colonization? Not everyone is meant to be an employee, right? And not every employee is meant to be an entrepreneur. So anyway, I just wanted to do some of this stuff. So you had some sales calls. We're going to go over that. I'm going to grab my glasses. I can hear you. What's the first one?
Okay, so my first question for you is I talked to a young lady. She works in higher ed and
Mm-hmm.
wants to help students of color in STEM majors and the
Mm-hmm.
staff who support them. So I don't think she has a methodology yet. She did the VIP Facebook challenge and she loved it, but she hasn't had a chance to go through all the videos yet and everything. So she was going to review those. So we have another follow-up call coming. And my question for you is I'm just trying to get a grasp for, I don't think she has a methodology yet. Is she too early for the boot camp? Does she need to have her methodology nailed down first? I think she has a general idea of where she wants to go. And the cool thing that I loved about her, Dawnna, was she said, I want to help students learn the things that I learned the hard way because I know they will help those students and the staff that support them have a much more positive experience and connect them to the resources. So that's my question.
Got you. So I'm going to sound way more callous than I mean to come off.
Okay.
But from a business perspective, students have no money.
Okay.
Right. And so
Yep.
so the person that she would be serving might be the student, but the person who she's ultimately serving is likely the parents and the teachers, the people
Mm-hmm.
who support those students. And so in regards to her having a methodology, if she's creating this transformation for her clients already, if she's already creating this transformation, she likely has a methodology, blueprint, framework, and what she hasn't done is actually documented it.
Right. 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 Yep. I
Right.
think you're absolutely right. Yep.
So she probably has one if she's creating these transformations already and she just needs to
Yep.
document it. But what she really needs to understand is who her actual, when I say ideal client, it is the person paying you. So she really needs to recognize, first of all, that she does need to have a methodology. She won't need one for the boot camp. Um, if she does the pre-coaching before the boot camp, that would be super helpful for her.
Mm, right.
Um, that would be a game changer for her because then we could actually kind of whittle out that methodology as well as her ideal client, because those are the two things you're going to need. And then from there, you really have to talk about the delivery experience, which is everything from not only what you're delivering, but how you price it.
Mm,
When those
yep.
three things are nailed down, especially if she gets the pre-coaching for the boot camp, she will get so much out of the boot camp. Because
Mm-hmm.
right now it sounds like, based on what you're selling, but what you're saying is her whole focus is on the student, which is fine, but it also has to be the benefit to the parent of these students having
Mm,
XYZ. For example, people tend to say, oh, I'm going to sell to the student, and I get that, but I'm going to use sports. When those guys come out there and they're doing those videos of kids in sports, they're doing that with the purpose of, how can we get your child a scholarship? How can we get them in the best college? How can we reduce the cost? How much it costs you to put that child through school, right? And
mm,
so their value proposition, while yes, the student benefits, they have to talk about the benefit to the parents as well, right? And also
Right.
there is a benefit to the school. So, right. And so what happens is when people have these, what we call dual targets, what they miss is that they're selling to the target with money while the target without money benefits.
Mm.
Right. So to
Yep.
answer your question, I think the boot camp would be helpful for her for sure, because we're going to go over your market audacity, your client engagement, and your sales acceleration. But for her to get the biggest bang for her buck, I would strongly suggest she do the 1 month of pre-coaching to really like get the highest return on investment.
Okay.
Does
That
that make
sounds
sense?
great. Yeah, it does. And I think you helped me clarify a couple things there. And one is who is her ideal client? Because she wants to help the students and the faculty, but I think she also had
Right.
mentioned there was some other organizations who had money available to kind of provide those services. So I think that's who
Right.
she needs to
And
target, correct?
those are sponsor
Yep.
dollars, but we consider those gravy, right? You always want to make sure that your income that you're creating, you are in control of it. And
Mm.
then anything else is honestly the icing on the cake. Right. And so
Yep.
people, you don't want to live on sponsored dollars. In other words, I don't want
Oh,
someone else being responsible for the amount of money I can or cannot make. That is never going to get you to be a wealthy entrepreneur.
yeah, I really like that. Don't live on sponsor dollars. Yeah, that's
Don't
really
live on
good.
sponsored dollars. Yeah.
Yeah, good
Don't do that.
stuff. Thank you. Um,
Mhm.
I spoke to another woman briefly yesterday, and we're going to try to set up a follow-up call here too. And she is new to the Speakers Academy in the NSA,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and she's very early in her business, and we didn't have a lot of time to talk, but I think she was feeling like she wasn't ready for a call yet. And I'm kind of noticing this trend a little bit, Dawnna, where sometimes people feel like they have to have everything perfect before they like move forward. And I'm just curious if you have any insights for me in terms of like when I talk to folks who feel like, well, I'm not ready for that strategy call yet or whatever. I tried
Yeah.
to encourage her, hey, I got a few things that might be helpful, but can you share any tips for me on that?
Yeah, it's a total mistake when oh my gosh, especially when new people do it. Like it is such a mistake. They kind of have this feeling like I have to have everything put in place, and that's absolutely untrue. In fact, the people that I find are the most successful. Okay, here's a great example of this. You golf,
Hmm.
right?
I
All
try.
right. No, no. No, no, no. You look like a poster when you golf. Okay, it's like amazing. Now, and you've coached golfing. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
There is a huge difference between the student who comes in with all those bad habits that you have to break
Ooh.
and the student who is raw.
Yeah.
The student who is raw, you don't, it's because what happens is people are like, oh,
Mm.
I have to get all this stuff in place before I even. And the biggest problem with that is now I got to break all these shitty bad habits that you came up with because you were literally, my Robert Kennedy says it the best. You were literally getting all this free stuff and creating this Franken biz. Like, it's just this horrible business because it's just all this shit cobbled together, right? And so when people say that, they're like, oh no, I got to go and, put up my website and I got to go and get my pictures and my videos and I got to come up with my titles and copy. And then I go sit there and read it. I'm like, so your website is crap. Your copy isn't any good. That video isn't going to work. And now we have to dismantle all that and start all over again. And generally what happens is they're like, well, wait, I paid a lot of money for that. No, you wasted a lot of money
Mm.
because you read all this free stuff and you tried to put something together yourself. So it's not, so don't do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't do that. I mean, when you start riding your bike, you don't just go out by yourself. Usually there is a parent behind you holding the back of the bike or a friend or something helping you do it right. Even though you're going to fall down a little bit, you're not going to consistently run your face into a tree. What happens is people are consistently setting up all these bad habits. And then they come to me, and then I have to break all the bad habits
Right.
just to move forward. It is horrible. So when people tell me, oh, I need to start from scratch, what I would tell them to do is no, get the 1 month of coaching first. So at least you have a framework, and then do the academy. I mean, do the boot camp. Like that is the order. Don't, I mean, seriously, when someone is just starting, that is the perfect time to get the information right, because they're literally going to walk away and go, this is the framework. This is the literal blueprint. I now know what to do. So yeah, no, it's never too early to get information.
Yeah, no, that was really good, and it really resonated for me as a coach. Unlearning those bad habits takes more time than if you just get good fundamental instruction right from the get-go. So that really
Takes
resonated for me.
so much time. Oh my God, it takes so much time. Breaking habits is really hard. I cannot tell you how many times I've had to break. Just, I mean, just think about people who write emails. Like, I have to literally break all the crappy habits they have for writing an email to get them to write one good one. Whereas if I caught them early, I don't have to break any of those bad habits.
Right. No, and I can relate to the email thing because I'm working through that myself. So
Yes, you are.
full disclosure.
Full disclosure. I can hear you. Keep going. What's your next
Okay.
question?
So here's something interesting that happened, and I need your insight on communicating delivery is kind of what I'm titling this. So
Okay.
I have a personal friend of mine who's also an NSA member. Um, and I was sharing with her recently about the boot camp. And
Hmm.
she's like, oh, wow, 3 full days. And she is amazing, Dawnna. You would love her. She's just one of the best people on the planet. And she's
Okay.
like, oh, Donna's doing it for 3 days. And she heard you speak at the Wisconsin NSA. And she's like, oh, they're 3 whole days. And it's just Dawnna. There must be a lot of pitch in it. And she didn't mean that in a bad way or anything. But all of a sudden I heard that and I'm like, oh, okay, because I think people are so used to having a lot of pitch and commercials and a lot of fat and fluff in programs. And so then I said, here's the best part. I said, when I asked Dawnna what we were going to be covering for the 3 days, she said, well, Doug, do you remember that 6 week course you took with me? And I said, yeah. And I told her, I said, Dawnna said, yeah, that's what we're doing the first day of boot camp. And after I told her that, she's like, oh no.
Oh.
But I guess my question for you is, because she was super excited about it, but how do you communicate that delivery? Because some people know you and they've seen you, they've heard you speak, so they understand it, they get it. But for those that haven't, I'm just wondering what tips or insights you have for me that might help communicate that there's a no BS approach and it's all about
Yeah.
delivery.
So number one, I so this one's a little harder because I guess people would almost have to know me and
Okay.
know how much I absolutely hate and abhor when people get on the platform and spend all their time pitching. I hate it. I hate it like nobody's business. It drives me nuts, right? I want people to make sure they bring Bengay and hand cramp cream, right? Because because they're going to be working. And so the one thing that you can share that I think would be helpful is how different that we're doing this, right? So this might be helpful, right? First, so always get your client when you're in this situation to do a little talking and say, do me a favor, describe to me what you think, because in her mind she thinks something about the boot camp, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd ask her, in your mind, what do you think about the boot, what do you think is going to happen? And probably what she thinks is Dawnna's going to stand on the stage for 3 days and she's going to spend half that time pitching her stuff. That's
Mm-hmm.
probably what she thinks. And then because there's not a lot of speakers like parading across the stage, she's probably going, without all these other people parading across the stage. By the way, when they do show up to those, do spend like half the time pitching, which I can't stand. Um, then it must not be anything. No, but that's not what we're doing, because this is what we're doing. The way that I got successful is I would read something or I learned something, I'd figure out how to apply it, and then I'd apply it, and then I'd learn something else, and then I'd build upon it, and I kept doing that. That's exactly what we're doing for 3 days. So the reason that it's 3 days is the very first day is, quite honestly, your marketing. And so, think about 6 weeks. We went 6 weeks at what, like an hour and a half per week. That's 9 hours of content. Day one. Doug, you were in that. There wasn't pitch for 6 weeks. There was fingers, paper,
Right.
hand cramp cream. right? That's what it
Yep.
was. And so that's what we're doing. I'm like, no, you need to walk away understanding how to make the type of funnel that works for what you're launching and what you're selling. You need to understand what is your ideal client's desires and how are you tapping it. There's so much to learn. I don't have freaking time to pitch. And my best pitch, by the way, is what I do on stage, which is delivering content that actually works that people can do. And so the first thing you could tell her is what we're doing differently
Mm-hmm.
is it's not pitching. You're going to learn something. You're going to get all your questions answered about that thing, and then you're going to do it. And so you might have 15 minutes or half an hour to do something, and then we go on to the next thing. And we're doing that hour over hour over hour. So everything builds upon. Who in the hell has time to pitch during that time?
Right.
There's no pitch for that time. We got things to do. Like we're literally putting together the program, and we're like, it's looking like we're gonna have working lunches and possibly working dinners. So we're
Mm-hmm.
not coming here like it's a boot camp. It's not
Right.
a pitch camp. It is a boot camp, right? And even as we set it up, we have it set up so that we have multiple coaches that will be coaching people. So I'm coaching people who are on the VIP, but then other people will have coaches as well. And we're trying to make sure we have people who are coaching within people's specialty,
Mm-hmm.
right?
No.
So yeah,
Yep.
there's no time for pitch.
Yeah, I like that. It's boot camp, not pitch camp.
It's boot camp, not pitch camp. It's boot camp. It's boot camp. And the other
Oh,
thing is, I treat my business like a private club. So
right.
it doesn't make sense for me to pitch to 100 people in an audience or 200 people in an audience because, quite honestly, most of them probably don't qualify to get into my higher level coaching anyway. But this will at least get them prepared to get into a higher level coaching so they can do that at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Awesome. That was very helpful. Thank you, Dawnna.
Cool.
So I had another just outstanding conversation with a gentleman late last week. He is a teacher, coach, and he's actually an author. And I could tell, like, as soon as we got on the phone, he was really like just a little bit paranoid maybe. And so as
he's been burned. He's been burned
with a capital B.
Yeah. I hate people that burn. I will just go ahead and say it and I'm quite good with it. I have a sincere and deep hatred for coaches who burn people. I do mean that because it takes so much out of you to financially come up with the money, to believe in the person, to really believe that you've done the best job you can picking the right coach. And then for those people to burn you, there is a special place in hell for them. And I mean, and guess what? I call them out when I find out about them because I can't stand them.
Yeah.
That's why we're not having pitch camp. We're having boot camp.
Right.
Because I've been burned, dude. I've been burned. So
right.
I know what that feels like. I would never want anyone else to have that feeling. So
yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
No. That's okay. That's okay. And so he actually is a very, very talented person. He's got a lot of different areas of expertise. And so he kind of wanted to get into the meat of it right away. And so we dove in and got to know each other. But here's my question is that he's focused on wanting to do some online marketing for some of his services. But as it came up, as I was asking next best question and learning more, I feel like he also maybe hasn't totally nailed down his expertise yet. And so I'm just wondering, like, in terms of the expertise, what's the best way to help somebody like identify their expertise? Because he teaches online classes, but he's also like an expert tennis instructor. Plus he's also done some speaking. And so he's got multiple modes of delivery.
Who does he think his ideal client is?
Well, that's a thing. I don't know if he has that nailed down yet. And I was asking him that yet. There it is. Thank you.
Well,
that's the next best question.
The reason I'm saying that is because I'm going to use tennis as compared to like basketball, right? Tennis is more of a solo sport. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know people playing doubles or whatever, but it's more of a solo sport than a team sport. So when I take that and I compare that to business, then I would be thinking about leaders, right? And things like what a tennis pro can teach you about great leadership. So, for example, in tennis, and I'm just going to use tennis, in tennis, when that ball is coming at you, you have to anticipate where it's going to be, right? And by the way, and even getting to that ball in the wrong way. Because if I go like this when I should be going like this, side to side, I'm going to get to the ball in the wrong way, right? So I have to anticipate where it's going to be, and I have to make sure that I'm strategic in regards to how I get there, because I got to get there in the right turn way in order to return the volley. He could take lessons that he knows as a tennis pro, and he could literally, and listen, a lot of executives play tennis. He could literally help executives recognize how they can be better leaders by leveraging some of those lessons. Like, there is so many opportunities. You said he already wrote a book?
Yeah, he has a book, and interestingly enough, I believe like the subtitle is like Mindset of Champions. He interviewed a bunch of great tennis coaches and everything. So I feel like you're spot on here in terms of expertise and kind of
And in
putting
sales,
it together.
he could be at sales conferences talking about anticipating. Listen, a good amount of tennis is anticipation,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to be able to anticipate where the ball is going to go. You have to be thinking about what your competition is going to do before they do it, right? I know if I hit the ball across there, how they're going to return it. He has so many opportunities to turn his expertise, and especially him already talking to champions. I mean, already talking to the people who's crushing it in that area, to leverage that. What a lot of people miss, Doug, is sometimes they're so honed in and focused in, and this is something to be aware of. Sometimes they're so honed in and focused in on the thing that they do that they don't recognize that there are tons of opportunities to apply it elsewhere. He has loads of opportunity to apply that expertise that he has in other places, right? And right now, just off the top of my head, I'm going, oh my God, leadership, right? Oh my God, sales. And that's just me off the
Right.
top of my head, not sitting down and talking to him. Like, if I sat down and had a conversation with them, I'm sure we can literally just sit down and go, this is how you make what you're doing into a beautiful work of art that you could use, in your, not everywhere, because I don't believe that, but to your right client. Because right now, this is what I find. You'll find someone who's a tennis pro, for example, and he'll write his book to people who are tennis pros, but not recognize the crossover appeal to people who aren't tennis pros that just want to be able to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I find a lot of experts and coaches and consultants miss their jam, is that they don't recognize how their information is more viable in other markets.
That was really good. The opportunity to apply it elsewhere, because I
Yep.
think that is, I think, totally applicable in this situation. So I'm excited to get back with him and communicate that.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Now, here's the other thing that you said, is that he is interested. He's like, oh, I need to do more marketing. Maybe. And the
Right.
reason I'm saying maybe is this. A lot of people make this mistake of saying, oh, you know what's wrong? My marketing is crap.
Mm-hmm.
But in truth, they haven't identified their area of expertise and where they can apply it. They haven't identified their ideal client and why that ideal client actually wants what they have. And they haven't identified the delivery experience all the way from price point to production and delivery in order to make sure that what they're marketing makes sense. So what they're doing is they're spitballing their marketing. They're just
Right.
putting it out there and hope that it hits. And that's not how you do it at all. The one thing that I can say about what my chief marketing officer Ruben does so very well is that we're so targeted and focused. So while people are like, I don't see you everywhere, damn right you don't. But where I am, it matters.
Right. Right.
Right.
Well, and
So
it's
yeah, I think the marketing thing, like, again, he's another one that I think needs the month of coaching
yeah.
before he attends the boot camp, because quite honestly it might not be very valuable to him, because then what he's going to do is he's going to learn, to me it's like this. Oh, you're going to come and I'm going to teach you how to drive an 18 wheeler, but you don't have one of those,
Hmm.
right? So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make sense to go and learn all of this stuff when you don't have anything to apply it to, not anything solid. You first want to get your focus area, which is your expertise, your ideal client, and your delivery method solid. And of
Right.
course, that's why we created that month ahead of time of private and group coaching so that people could get that solid.
That is really helpful because I think that might be a piece that will help him too. Because he said when he got burned for $3,000 on that online program, it felt like a little bit of, what I've heard you refer to as spray and pray and spray, spray and pray. And I don't think there was any support. They said there was going to be support, and then as soon as he purchased, they ghosted him. And I think he's still, working through that and everything. But
Yeah, I'd be pissed as hell too.
yeah, yep,
I mean, it's one of the reasons why I have such long-term clients because I'm like, you got my cell phone number. It hasn't changed in 25 years. you know?
right, right. And Dawnna, one of the other things that comes up, and some people understand this, but they understand it at different levels. But the difference between cost and investment, and I know like when I talked to Berta, she said that was one of the biggest takeaways from working with you. And I'll never forget the conversation I had with Berta, just in terms of understanding the difference between the cost and the return on investment. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
curious, any little tips for me when that comes up and people are so focused on the cost, but they're not thinking about like investment and getting that return on investment? Anything that can kind of help me open up the mindset there a little bit?
So first, I just got to do a quick shout out. So one of my clients, her name is Latanya Moore, just sent me a text message because my clients do have my cell phone number. Just sent me a text message, and she sent me what we call the Dawnna bat signal, which is my name in all caps with 5 exclamation points. And she just said she got 282 registrants for her presentation. Just saying,
Wow.
go Latanya. Oh my God, Latanya Moore. And just real quick, if y'all don't know who Latanya Moore is, if you have a product like a big idea that you've already monetized and you want to get it into a big box store or into a retailer other than Amazon, she helps you get your stuff on shelves. And it's usually in the area of food, right? So she's really good at getting people's food into grocery stores. I know people who struggle with that forever and they can't do it. And she is absolutely amazing. She has all the connections, she has all the contacts, she has the methodology laid down. She's fantastic. Anyway, I had to say that because it literally just popped up. And so I was like, oh, okay.
That's super cool.
I love my clients. Okay. So to answer your question, you were saying the difference between cost and investment. So the one thing that I am big on, and this is how I even ran things in my business. If I invested $10, my expectation was to get 100. So if my team told me they wanted to go to a $2,000 class, I was like, show me how that's going to turn into a $20,000 return. Now, some people think I mean that literally, and many times I do mean that literally, because what I want, I don't make the promise of, oh, spend $2,000 and not get $20,000. I've had people literally go and put up a post about their beliefs and turn that into 15,000, not because they're putting up the post. It's because they know what to do with the post once they put it up, right? And so when people talk about return on investment, I'm going to tell you something, and Doug, hear me closely.
Mhm.
I cannot give anyone a return on investment. I
Mm.
can guide them to getting the return on investment that they deserve. So if you invest $2,000 in VIP, if you invest $1,000 in regular seats, then our job is to help you guide you through getting that return on investment. That's what we're trying to do. That is the whole goal. And so what I want is that people get whatever they invested, which is what they paid for, whatever they invested, get that back immediately, but then turn that into exponential investment, exponential returns. This is the part that I have with people always talking about, but I want some free shit. You cannot build a business on free shit. You can't. That is not how it works. You might accidentally make some money, but you are not going to get wealthy. and you are not going to stay that way because you did it by accident. And so I'm really, really big on the difference between cost and investment. Is cost, you have no idea if you're going to get that money back. Investment, your whole job is to get the return. That's the whole job. And you know what the return on free is? Nothing. So you want to make an investment so you can get a return. Because here's the thing, and I'll tell you this about myself. When I did something that I could afford, oh, it's $500, not a big deal. Oh, it's $1,000, not a big deal. When I was doing that, I didn't work nearly as hard to get the money back. But when I put it on a credit card, when I put $10,000 on a credit card, and I did, I busted my ass to not only get the $10,000 back, because once I figured out how to get the $10,000 back, then I was like, well, shit, I can now get another 10 and another 10 and another 10. You have to, an investment is a spark under your behind to make you actually do the work. And people are like, well, I don't need that spark. I guarantee you they do. So people who don't want to make an investment in getting their money back, this is probably not the program for them. Because it's not about investing money. You got to invest time. You got to invest effort. You got to spit. You got to be. If you show up, and I've seen, and hand to God, I've seen people do this. They give me the money, and then they don't do the damn work, and then they go, it didn't work, and I'm like, you literally did nothing. You didn't do anything. So it's not that it didn't work. You didn't work it. So I tell people straight up, there's work associated with this. That's why it is a boot camp. You show up, you learn some stuff. You put your cell phone away, you turn it off, you stop checking your emails, you focus in. I'm going to teach you something. You're literally in that moment going to learn how to do it, and then you're going to do it, and then we're going to check it. And then you're going to learn something else, and then you're going to do it. And then we're going to check it. And everything that we teach builds upon the other. So don't show up and be like, oh, well, I got to take a couple of hours and go and get this lunch. Oh, okay. Because you're going to miss something that you need to build the foundation, right? So you've got to do the work. Like, I don't get how people want these businesses and they don't want to work. So seriously, for people who are like, I'm just worried about the cost and not the investment, what they're worried about is money going out and not how to get a return.
Right. Dawnna, that was awesome. It reminds me of what you shared with me just recently about the 3 commitments: money, time, and effort. And that I'm just hearing that loud and clear again. And that's something that I need to make sure that I remind people. And
write that down. Money,
Yep.
time, effort, money, time, effort, money, time, effort. Because it's
Yep.
not just about the money you put in. It's about the time you set aside and the work you do during that time. It's the whole thing. It's not just one thing. You cannot, if you pay to go to the gym, I guarantee you that ass will not fit in those jeans. You actually got to do some squats. I'm just saying, you got to show up to the gym and you got to do some squats. That's how it works.
Oh my God.
You
can't pay somebody to do your push-ups for you, right?
But that is the difference between cost and investment. Cost
Right.
is I paid to go to the gym and I never showed up. Investment is I paid to go to the gym, I showed up, I did the work, and I got the results I was looking for. That's the difference between the two.
Right. Thank you. And I think the last thing I had to share with you, one of our VIPs from the last Facebook challenge followed up with them, and they said they loved it. But this I thought was really cool. They were just reflecting and said, I have the knowledge. Now I just need to implement it. And so they were just going to focus on implementation right now. But the cool thing is they said, but you've got to let me know when Dawnna's next mansion retreat is, because I'm going to work toward that to be ready so that when the next mansion retreat comes up, I'm in position to take advantage of that. And I said, no problem.
Right.
So I'm going to follow up with her after the boot camp and everything. But I just want to let you know that because I thought you'd think that was cool, because it's all about implementation. And that's what you just said, like the learn it, do it, check it. I haven't heard you say that before. And that's something else I'm going to remind people when I'm talking to them about the boot camp.
Well, and so the check it part is where I find that people screw up the most. Right? They'll learn it, they'll do it, and think about it. Think about this. Hear me clearly when I say this. Every decision that you ever made in life, you thought in that moment it was the best decision. Like, who's sitting there going, you know what? There's a good decision, and then there's this shit decision. I'm gonna go with the shit decision, right? You know what I mean? Like, right. So every decision that you've ever made, you were like, that's the best decision. I'm gonna go with that decision because I think it's the best decision. Even when it was close, you still said, I still think that's the best decision. And
Mm-hmm.
so what happened was you went that direction. Well, here's the thing. If every decision you made in life got you to where you are and you're not where you want to be, you need a coach to help you make better decisions.
Mm.
So
Yep.
that's when you need someone to go in and help check what you're doing. Because you can go and you could do it. It's the same thing with golf. Hey, I can pick up the club and I can consistently hit the ball,
Mm-hmm.
right? And have the worst swing in the world that's causing serious back problems and never getting that ball to exactly where it's going to be, and have all the bad habits in the world. And I'm dipping and jumping and doing all the things that I'm not supposed to do. But because I hit the ball, I think I'm the bomb. When you have a coach, they're standing back and they're looking and they're going, okay, you're dipping every time you hit the ball. You're doing this, you're swaying, you're moving your head, you're turning. You know why your back is hurting? This is why your back is hurting. You're hitting the ball, but it's not going to where you want to go. A coach will literally, after you do something, they will check it and make corrections so you're constantly going the right direction. Listen, I'm not a surgeon. I'm more of a chiropractor. Most people are brilliant, and what they really need are tweaks. They don't need their whole spine to be completely replaced. Sometimes they do. But they're sometimes, but generally they have these tweaks. But here's the thing, just like in golf, it's like in business, and you know this. If I hit that ball with my club and it's off just a little bit, it's on the toe, we're talking about not even an inch, right? It's on the toe rather than in the center. You and I know what's going to happen. It's going to slice and go that way. And so while you're consistently doing it, you're like, I'm hitting the ball. I don't know why I keep going that way. You need a coach to sit there and go, hey, let me tell you why. It's because you're not hitting on the center. It's because your club turned a little too much. It's because that's why you want a coach. People are always like, well, I did it. And I'm like, but you don't know that you did it right.
Right. Right. I love that. Um, Hey, the last thing that I had for you was I just wanted to thank you because last week we were talking about a few little subtleties to the art of conversation. And I was jumping a little bit when I was talking to people, and you said, hey, just slow down and try to really pick up something that they're saying and use that to plant the seed for your next comment in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to thank you for that because that has really helped my conversations flow a lot better recently.
Oh, that's so good. Well, we
Yeah,
don't we coach for the sale, so we're not one of
right.
those hard charging, like, what do you mean you're not doing it people. I mean, I might be that asshole on video like 90% of the time,
No,
um
you're not.
because things get me riled up, but I'm really really passionate about what I do. um,
Just a little
but
bit.
just a little bit. That's why we have that. Listen, that's why I have you. What did I say? I need someone who is nothing like me. I need them to be nice. I need them to listen. I need them to be patient. I need them to not be anything like me.
You are not giving
Going,
yourself enough credit.
no, I'm the person like dragging people, kicking and screaming to money. I'm like, I don't care if you're naked and there's glass. Let's go. So I own that, But no, one of the big things, and is like, I hated sales, right? And so I'm always really clear that I hated sales, and I was one of those people who believed the lie that my expertise would sell itself. Your expertise will not sell itself.
Mm,
And on top of it, I hated sales. So when you put those two things together, you really end up, in trouble. And so the one thing that I love, especially when we get to the sales acceleration, Doug, portion of the boot camp, is that we really show people how to sell in a way that doesn't feel, hold on, how to sell in a way that doesn't feel salesy and uncomfortable and pushy. And it really does use your natural talents. And what's funny is I notice that whenever you're running into the struggle, it's because you find yourself feeling salesy. And then you're like, I feel salesy. And I'm like, but don't do that.
Yeah, you just nailed it though. I can feel that when every once in a while the icky vibe comes in and it's just like, ugh, go
Yeah,
away.
I'm like, that's not what we do, dude. We
Right,
don't do that. Coaching for the sale is 100% opposite to that.
right.
But and when you don't do it, it's a more comfortable conversation because you're not really selling people on anything. You're saying, is this a good fit for you or not? Because it not always is it a good fit. And we're really, really clear about that. Listen, that's why we have it where people don't just go and buy, they get on a phone call with us first and we talk to them and we're like, is this a good fit for you? Because if it's not a good fit, I don't want them to waste their time. And I don't want to
Right.
waste my time breathing life into somebody who's just not ready for that.
I just want to share one quick story because you just reminded me one of the most powerful experiences conversationally that I've had in my role with you was a couple weeks ago when I had to call a client and share with them that you and I had discussed where they were at and we didn't think it was right now, the timing, and I explained why. And Dawnna, what was so powerful is after she heard what I shared, she was so touched and moved by the fact that we had spent all of that time trying to figure out what was best for her and if she was ready or not, because we were not willing to allow her to do something that we knew she wasn't ready for. And she
Oh
was
yeah.
so appreciative of that because she knew that right there, like, who does that, you know? And so thank you for teaching me that approach because I didn't know that was out there, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
And I
it's
think it's a
nice.
big deal. And I think it's a big deal. I mean, people would be surprised, I think, to know, and that's why I wanted to do some of these live, is I think people would be surprised to know that when we talk about coaching for the sailor, the way that we think do things in Firebrand, it's quite different. We literally sit and talk about every single solitary person and whether it's a fit for them or not. Like we're not making secondary phone calls with people that we haven't looked at their website, we haven't checked them out a bit. When we are making that initial phone call, we're not calling to sell. We're calling to find out if they're a good fit and if we can help them. Because if we can't, we're like, hey, here's something you could read. Hopefully, like you talked about. One of the things you talked about this morning was this guy who runs a lawn service.
Hmm.
And quite honestly, I was like, I don't know that this is right for him.
Right.
And there's a reason. And here's the reason. And it's not, I just want to be clear, it's not a snobby thing at all.
Right.
From what I know about most lawn service companies, they're charging $50 to $100 and per lawn, and they're doing probably about 8 lawns a day, and he's by himself, which means I doubt if he's getting to 8 a day because that would be quite high for a solo person. So let's say he's doing about $600 a day. Let's say he's doing that 6 days a week. That's $3,600, right? While that's good money, don't get me wrong, it's good money. I need to know. So what are you trying to do? And that's if he, and mind you, that means that he would have 36, he would have 72 clients on his roster. That number is quite unheard of for most solo lawn people.
Hmm.
That's a big number. And so then the question becomes, so wait, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to A, get bigger clients? Because now that's a different direction. Or are you trying to B, get more clients?
Mm.
And based on which one you're trying to do, is this investment of coming to this thing going to give you the return that you need? Right? And so while I think it could be helpful, I question if it's going to give him that return. And so I want to be very careful about ensuring that he gets the return that he deserves. I think I could help him probably in a couple of phone calls, and really understand what he wants. Because if he's just looking for more clients, that's different as compared to if he's, because I could give him a tip. I can talk to him on the phone for 15 minutes and give him a tip to get more clients. right? He doesn't need 3 days for that. If he wants to get bigger clients, again, I could talk to him on the phone for 15 minutes to help him get bigger clients. I could do that. But I want to make sure that he doesn't waste his time coming to Orlando for 3 days at the end of April and doesn't get the return on investment, that he doesn't make that money back within like a month. That is what's important to me. And so, yeah, and again, I need to know. Most of the people that come to my thing are generally selling something a little more high end.
Mm-hmm.
So if he was talking about getting bigger clients, more corporate clients, where he get, because if he's telling me he's solo, I can tell you right now, he's not doing corporate.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing solo by himself. He doesn't have a team. Obviously, he doesn't have a team. His and the amount of money that he's probably getting, especially based on where he lives, that return on investment is going to be highly limited. So I need to know what direction he wants to go in order to make sure this is a fit for him, because I don't want him to waste his money or his time.
Yeah, I really like that. Delineating between bigger clients and more clients. And that was really helpful.
Yeah, and more clients is, more clients at your same rate that's really trading dollars for time. Not my ideal client. Bigger clients so you can grow your business and you can get more in a high-end exclusive area where you're not just, because he literally said he was a lawn guy, right? He does lawn mowing and stuff like that. He's not calling himself a landscape architect. He's not calling himself any kind of specialist. He's not really falling in the realm of expertise. And so because of that, I don't necessarily know that this would be a fit for him, but I wouldn't have a problem taking a few minutes on the phone and talking to him and helping him out.
Yep. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. That was very, very helpful. That expertise factor.
Yeah.
That is what I had for you, Dawnna. So, and this is good. I've got tons and tons of nuggets, and I really appreciate all the insight.
Let me see. I have some people that put questions. I just want to see them. So
okay.
Let's see who we got. So I'm reading down here because I can't read up there because it's way too far. But Michael wrote, I'm guilty of making the shit decision when it comes to cost because I can't see the return. He's not the only one. A lot of people do that. And here's why. Is because, quite honestly, most people don't want to admit that they are responsible for getting their return on investment. They really aren't. They want to make that return someone else's responsibility.
Yep.
I can tell you right now, you're never going to be a successful entrepreneur until you recognize that the only person responsible for your return on investment is you. I'm responsible to deliver the best content out there. That's 100% my job, right? That's what I'm going to do. Give you the tools, the techniques, answer your questions, set you up for success walking out the door. That's the one thing that I love about doing these 3 days. People walk out the door like having already started rather than just being waterboarded with content. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
Because I hate that. I hate going to a conference and they traipse across, parade across every speaker known to man, glamour and glitz. And I'm sitting there and I haven't written one freaking note. And they gave me so much content that I don't know where to start. This is quite different. You start at you start there, like you take out your pen, you put it on paper, you write, you do, you're implementing there at the conference. That's, even the whole concept of, okay, we're going to sit right now and we're going to write an email to your list right now. Why am I doing that? Because I want your list to respond. I want you to go back home and go, holy crap, people actually responded to that. That worked. I want you to do a video there. I want to show you how to do that there. That whole client engagement. Like, we do things live there because we want people to have that level of success. I mean, you've been in the mansion retreats, that's what we do.
Well, and I've never seen anything like it, but when we did the mansion retreat and when Ruben was doing that activity that day and people were reaching out to their contacts, and people are not even through their list of contacts and they're already getting responses before they finished getting through all of their contacts, and people are making sales at the mansion retreat. I had never seen anything like that before. So that kind of blew my mind, quite honestly.
Yeah. Because that's what we do. Like, I'm like, no, this is not about just learning. It's learning, doing, checking next. Learning, doing, checking next. And every time you check it, we make it better, and then we go to the next part. I mean, if you're not doing that, what's the point?
Right.
That's how I went from homeless to having a business. It was that kind of constant learn, do, check it, make it better, go on to the next thing. You got to do that.
So Dawnna, one thing that you just gave me here is
Hmm.
that's another missing piece, and I'm realizing it too when I'm talking to people, is just I don't think a lot of people have actually experienced the power of coaching. I think a lot of people have gotten a lot of content and videos and everything else, but what you're just talking about, the learning, doing, and then checking it, I think that's the power of coaching that I don't think a lot of people have experienced.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing, right? Because what happens is you sit there and you write up this stuff, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna put this post online because it's thebomb.com, and it's gonna be everything, and then it doesn't get the responses you want, and then what they make the mistake of is they go, oh, maybe I'm going to the wrong target market, or maybe it was the time of day, or maybe it was a month of the year, and there is like a list of maybes that you have to go through. Whereas if you have a coach, the coach has all this expertise and experience, and they go, actually, you shouldn't have put out that post. It was the wrong thing to say. It doesn't speak to your client. Because most people, what they have, so I'll talk about some of the people who work with me who are like therapists, right? Or people who are credentialed, even, doctors, therapists, and that type of thing. And they're now doing their business in a bigger way. They use what I call credentialed centric language. So they'll use language that other people in their industry are very well aware of. And then I'll go, but other people in your industry aren't buying from you. You need to have customer centric language,
Mm.
which is quite different. You have
Hmm.
to speak the language of your customer. And so I've had clients that come in and I'm using doctors specifically because my therapists do this quite a bit. They will use the term mental health, mental illness, mental wellness. And I'm like, there's still such a stigma on that. Why are you using that language? Especially if you're not trying to get mental health patients, because that's not what
Right.
they're doing. And I'm like, what is the result that your client is looking for? It's just like when we did our first challenge, and I was like, it's the Fyrebrand methodology challenge. And nobody signed up. And then I was like, well, shit, that's my language. Methodology is my language. So then I was like, oh, it's clarity, alignment, and cash flow. Right. So a good coach can help you translate your language into the language of your customers, so your customer is more um, interested in what you have. And a good coach can hear it. A good coach can actually write copy and help you correct that language across the board. A good coach has a methodology to do, has a framework to do that. Right. And so that's what people miss. They think I'm going to watch this video and I'm going to go do it, but you didn't have anyone check your work. I mean, listen, this is where my pet peeve comes in. A 7-year-old will get on a bike and they will ride that bike and they will fall off that bike and skin up their knees and they will get back on that bike, right? They do it all the time. And then we have entrepreneurs who are these experts and they fall off the bike one time and then they're done. A 7-year-old has more courage than most entrepreneurs that I'm working with. That's frustrating. That is so frustrating. But the other thing is that same 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, these elementary school kids recognize that just because you taught me how to do math doesn't mean that I did math right.
Mm.
And they recognize that they need a teacher and a coach to consistently get it right. We have so many people that are like, I'm a grown up, so I have all the answers. No, you don't. Like, you don't. So why is it this elementary school kid is smarter than this grown up? And not just because they think so, because they recognize I need someone to help me with my work in order to do it right. You're doing something new. You don't think you need a teacher? You don't think you need a coach? You don't think you need help? I got 3 of them. It takes 3 of them. I have 3 of them to keep me on point. Why? Because I recognize that having a coach, biggest game changer in my business. Biggest game changer.
Well, and just being honest, like once I started working with you and I saw what you have done to help me, it was like, why didn't I have my own coach earlier?
Why not have a coach a long time ago?
A long
Listen,
time ago, a long time ago. So yeah,
I have this
I
coach that
feel
I've
very
been using for
blessed.
two. I have this coach that I've been using for 2 years, and I could tell you she's responsible for hundreds of thousands of dollars that I've made in my business, right? Because she really helps me with CEO thinking, right? And getting past
Hmm,
roadblocks that I didn't even know were roadblocks. It's a huge, huge difference. And what I love is I can pass those lessons on to other people.
right.
All right. Do you have anything else before? Because so we, by the way, we're going to do this again next week. So just get ready. But do you have
All right.
anything else that you need? Or are you good?
No, it's just going to take me a while to go back through my notes and pull out all these great nuggets and everything. You talked about the hand cramp. I think I'm going to have to get some new
Yeah,
lotion or
yeah.
something here because it's always on go with you. So thank you so much for your time,
Just
Dawnna.
make
This
sure
was
you
great.
send me those nuggets so I can go make some posts in Canva. All right, Doug. I'll talk to you
Sounds
later,
good.
hon. All right,
Awesome. Have a
bye.
great day.
You too. Bye.